Hey everybody, it's Will from the Bulwark. So we're a couple of weeks past the election, and Republicans have settled on their big talking point. See if you can spot it.
The American people gave President Trump a mandate.
The mandate that came from the American public is overwhelming, and he's absorbed that, I think, in a very positive way.
He knows who he wants to put in there, that he's getting it. And by the way, he's got a mandate to do it.
Subtle, huh? Look, it's normal for politicians to claim they have a mandate to do all the stuff they wanted to do anyway. But in Trump's case, that claim is really weak. So today, we're going to drill down on what Americans actually think about his agenda. And you're not going to believe this, but it turns out that when his buddies in Congress tell you that the public supports his agenda, they're basically making it up. Let's start with Congressman Byron Donalds. Yesterday, he was on Fox News, and here's what he said about Trump.
The president has a political mandate. He overwhelmingly won this election. His mandate, Maria, I know I've said it several times, but it is a wide political victory for Donald Trump.
A wide political victory? Trump won overwhelmingly? Let's take a look. Here are the latest numbers reported by CNN. Trump did win the Electoral College, but if you look at the fine print, he got less than 50% of the popular vote. In fact, his winning margin over Kamala Harris was just 1.5%. So, no, he did not win an overwhelming victory. Of course, to be fair, the election isn't decided by the national popular vote. It's decided state by state. But Republicans are also fudging about that. For example, in that interview with Byron Donalds, Maria Bartiromo, the Fox News host, pretended that Democratic governors in blue states should do what Trump wants because the people of their states voted for the Trump agenda.
What are these Democrat governors missing? You know, you hear the governor of Illinois, the governor of New York, the governor of New Jersey coming out saying, we're not going to help President Trump deport anybody. Don't come for my people. Are they unaware that those people actually voted for Trump's agenda?
Well, yes, those governors are not aware that the people of their states voted for Trump's agenda. And the reason they're not aware is that the people of their states didn't vote for Trump. Here are the latest numbers from New York, for example. Trump lost there by about 12 points. And here's the count in Illinois. Trump lost there by 11 points. And here's the count in New Jersey. Trump lost there by 6 points. So the reason why those governors aren't afraid that their voters are going to rise up and demand Trump's agenda is that their voters rejected Trump's agenda. Now, you could argue that because Trump got more votes than Harris at the national level, even though it wasn't a majority, that is a national mandate for Trump's agenda. And that's essentially what Donalds told Bartiromo.
And if you look at these cabinet choices, they have one mission in mind, and that is to enact the agenda of Donald J. Trump that the American people voted for overwhelmingly.
But when you dig into the exit polls, it turns out that most voters oppose Trump's agenda. Take a look at the national exit poll commissioned by the major TV networks and published by CNN. When voters were asked whether Trump's views were too extreme, most of them said yes. And if you don't trust that poll, here's a separate, larger poll called VoteCast. Again, a massive survey of people who actually voted, which was conducted for several media outlets and published by Fox News. This poll found that 46% of voters were very concerned that Trump was too extreme, and about 60% were at least somewhat concerned. But let's go deeper. Trump and his allies have specific things they want to do, and they're claiming that voters gave them a mandate to do those things. And at the top of that list is deporting undocumented immigrants. Trump is even bragging that he can use the military to do this. Here's Senator John Barrasso, the number 2 Republican in the new Senate leadership, talking about that idea on Fox News.
Well, I support the president. We have a national security crisis in this country right now because of our open border. And when he declares it a national emergency, he can appropriately use the military. There are over 10 million illegal immigrants in the country right now. When you take a look at the president's magnificent victory, the decisive victory, it's, I think, because people were scared about all of these people in the country illegally.
Now, it's true that fear of illegal immigrants did help Trump win the election. But it's not true that voters endorsed Trump's deportation plan. Look at the network exit poll. When voters were asked whether most undocumented immigrants should be deported, or whether, as an alternative, those immigrants should be offered a chance at legal status, most voters preferred to offer legal status. And the same thing happened in the VoteCast poll. Most voters chose legal status rather than deportation. And by the way, on the specific question of whether the military should be involved in deportations, a CBS News poll conducted in just the past few days found that 60% of Americans oppose that idea. So, no, Trump does not have a mandate for his deportation plan. How about foreign policy? Trump says before he even takes office, he'll settle the war between Russia and Ukraine. He's made it very clear that he'll cut off aid to Ukraine. And Nancy Mace, a Republican congresswoman, says he's got a mandate for that, too.
Donald Trump won. And not only did he just win, it wasn't just simply a win, it was a resounding mandate on the issue of Ukraine and a lot of other issues like illegal immigration, inflation, and government spending.
Was it, though? I mean, here's what the VoteCast poll found, as reported by Fox News. Most voters said they favor continuing the aid to Ukraine. So, again, no mandate. How about health care? Trump has nominated Robert F. Kennedy Jr., an anti-vaxxer, to take over the Department of Health and Human Services. And Senator Ron Johnson says Trump also has a mandate for that. Watch.
Well, first of all, I'm doing pretty much the unofficial whip count for RFK Jr., because I've known him well. Listen, I believe Republican senators certainly understand the overwhelming victory, the solid victory of President Trump, and basically that President Trump, as a result, earned a mandate. He has earned the right to be able to select people that will help him govern and carry out his agenda.
Look, I understand why Senator Johnson wants you to believe Trump has a mandate to put RFK Jr. in charge of your health care. But when voters were actually asked what they thought about vaccines, here's what they said. The question in the VoteCast poll was whether the government should be more or less involved in ensuring that children are vaccinated for childhood diseases. 22% of voters said they wanted the government to be less involved, which is basically the anti-vax or hardcore libertarian position. But 26% said the government should keep doing what it's doing to ensure vaccinations. And more than 50% said the government should do more. So Johnson and RFK Jr. seem to be on one side of the issue, while 3/4 of Americans are on the other side. How about energy policy? Senator Barrasso says Trump has a mandate to pump a lot more oil.
Well, I agree, Jillian. It is a mandate to get things done, to govern, not to grandstand, to take action. On day number one, President Trump can take executive actions, and they can do that to shut down our open border and to open up our shut down oil rigs.
But again, that's not what the VoteCast poll found. Here are the numbers as reported by Fox. 43% of voters said the best energy policy is the one favored by Trump and Barrasso, to, quote, focus on expanding production of fossil fuels, such as oil and gas. But a majority, 55%, said the better policy was, quote, to focus on expanding use of alternative energy, such as solar and wind. So on issue after issue, Republicans claim the voters gave Trump a mandate. But the exit polls show that, in fact, voters oppose Trump's policies. And beyond all these issues, There's a much bigger question. Was this election a mandate to change our whole system of government to suit one man? Republicans are claiming that that's what you voted for. They're saying that you, the American people, gave Trump full authority to tear down any part of the system that stands in his way. Listen to Congressman Mike Waltz, who's been nominated by Trump to be his national security advisor.
President Trump has a mandate to execute these policies that he has outlined and to continue the great policies he had in his first term. I think in the past, too many people have tried to kind of conform the system or have tried to kind of conform him to the system. I'm going to conform the system to the best I can, to his style, to his decisions, and to his mandate.
Now, there's a word for conforming a political system to fit one man, and that word is authoritarianism. And if you think what Waltz said is just rhetoric, think again. These Republicans are already trying to dissolve specific rules and institutions. For example, Trump is nominating people to his cabinet without the customary FBI background checks. And one of his top allies in the Senate, Bill Hagerty, says that's fine.
As you know, there haven't been FBI background checks for any of these nominees. Do you agree with her, though, that this should happen before we get to confirmation votes?
I don't think the American public cares who does the background checks. What the American public cares about is to see the mandate that they voted in delivered upon.
So that old norm about background checks doesn't matter anymore because voters don't care. All they care about, according to Hagerty, is delivering Trump's agenda. But when the VoteCast poll asked about this kind of thing, it turned out that most voters are worried about giving Trump too much power. They don't want to conform the whole system to him. Here are the numbers from that survey as reported by Fox. A majority of voters, 55%, said they were concerned that electing Trump would, quote, bring the U.S. closer to being an authoritarian country, where a single leader has unchecked power. And 45% said they were very concerned. And by the way, in that poll, 58% of voters said Trump was not honest and trustworthy, and 55% said he did not have the moral character to be president. So that's the truth about what American voters, people who actually voted in this election, support and believe. They did favor Trump over Harris by a whopping 1.6%. They were unhappy with Joe Biden, and they wanted a change. But this story Republicans are peddling about how the election was a mandate for their agenda, that's a bunch of bull. See you next time.